Alright, and welcome to another video in my Road to Ironman Cairns journey. So for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. For those who've been here before, welcome back. My name's Trindall. I'm a 57-year-old triathlete based in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. And as the title said, I'm training for Ironman Cairns in just 2 months' time in June. So we only have 10 weeks to go, and it's getting quite real out there. So this video itself is just a short recap of my 10 week to go training, and it's what I did in that week. And I make these videos for two reasons. Firstly, just a bit of a record that I can look back on in years to come, and secondly, I've had over 40 years experience in triathlon, and if I can pass any bits of information along, I feel like that's worth doing as far as giving back to the community goes. So without any other delay, let's get straight into the week that was week 10 to go. So week 10 to go kicked off on a Monday with, and this week 10 is week 2 of a build in what is this particular build's going to be a 4-week build with a recovery week leading into the Moreton Bay Triathlon on the 10th of May. So which is the last little hit out heading into Cairns. So the Monday itself was a 60-minute recovery ride. That's just shaking the legs out and preparing for the weekend, and really just recovering from what was a fairly solid weekend training in that week 11 to go series. So Tuesday, 90 minutes on the bike. I include, and that's just a zone 2 ride, so I'm staying in my mid-level zone 2, but I am including 2 4-minute tempo sessions in that now. And those tempo sessions are literally at what I predict that I'll be at my Ironman power, and I do use a power meter on the bike more than a heart rate. I feel it's a little bit more accurate as far as giving immediate feedback, where that heart rate can be a little bit of a lag. So 20-minute run off the bike. Work-wise, Monday and Tuesday were both days off, so not bad to have a little bit of time to myself and a little bit of time just to focus on training and a few other bits and bobs that come up in our life. So Wednesday, what I've done here, I've now split my long run for the week and my long ride for the week up, where prior to this I was doing typically my long ride on the Saturday and my long run on the Sunday. What I was finding is, as I'm 57 years old, let's face it, recovery is probably more important these days than ever, and I was struggling with that recovery, and I don't think I was getting what I needed to get out of my long runs. So moving into that, my long run is now switched to a Wednesday, and this particular week just included zone 2, so staying in that lower zone 2 once again, and a 1 hour 45-minute run, and that's starting to build and I'll build that over the next sort of few weeks to where I'll run into 2 hours 30, but I won't be running over that 2 hour 30 mark. I feel that the reward to risk ratio, or the risk to reward ratio, is just not worth it as far as injury and recovery time goes for that. So after the run, around lunchtime, I jumped in the pool and did a 3,000 metre swim. And what I did then was just a basic, simple 400 metre freestyle warm-up. And then I did 15 100s freestyle, just going off the 2-minute mark, and then another 10. So it gave me 25 in total, another 10 100s. Same thing, going off the 2-minute mark, but this time with pull buoy and paddles. So just adding a bit of load on the arms for the last. I know you're sort of getting into that fatigue, especially coming up to 25 100s, but that's what I want at this particular phase of training. I did actually have a work shift that night, and it sort of, what happens with these night shifts, they do carry over into a bit of fatigue on the Thursday. So my shift was from 2:30 till about 10:30. I think I ended up getting home around 11 p.m. And so I've got to be mindful of that when I'm planning around my week and what I'm doing on the Thursday as well. So Thursday we jumped on the indoor bike. So what I did here was 90-minute indoor on Rovi, and I programmed it so I was doing power, so literally a bit of a build in for the first 15 minutes, based on power output as a warm-up. And then I did 3 18-minute sets at literally the power that I feel that I want to ride at Ironman Cairns, with a 3-minute recovery within each or after each, and then simply another 15 minutes. So that gives me a 90-minute session on the bike. And on the bike too, and even indoors, I'm still practicing that nutrition. And you've got to be mindful of training not only the body but also that gut tolerance as well, so we're able to handle that. And I'm running at about that 80 grams per carbs at the moment, and I'm working on adding another sort of 5 to 10 grams each week as we build, and I'm hoping to get to that sort of 90 grams per carbs by the time we get to Cairns and be able to tolerate that without any sort of distress. So that was it for the day. I actually had a day shift, which was 10:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. at work. So by the time I get home, it's around 7. And the main thing there is the session's done. Friday morning, I just did a simple run. So what I do is a nice warm-up. So 10-minute warm-up, and then 4 by 4 minutes at roughly 90%. Just focusing on form, focusing on my cadence, and focusing on my breathing. And in between each 4 minute, I do a full 2-minute walk recovery. So these aren't really doing much, but just teaching the body to run a little bit quicker, and giving yourself very good recovery between each, so you're able to repeat that in the next 4-minute session in good form. Once again, trying to avoid that recovery risk as far as the running goes. So nothing else that day. In fact, I had a day off work as well. So this week was a really light week for work for me, and I pay for that the following week with the way our rosters work. So the following day, which was this Saturday, and that was my 4-hour ride. So once again, just staying in zone 2, practicing my nutrition, 70 grams per carbs, 70 grams of carbs per hour, and just taking a sip every 15 minutes. And I put I don't mind those Allen lollies, so I put a heap of those in my bag on the bike as well, and just keeping something to chew on as well, and just keeping on top of that nutrition. And what I found is I come off the 4 hours feeling quite fresh and quite comfortable. And that's what you want at this phase of training. We're not pushing ourselves into that deep fatigue zone. So Sunday morning was a 60-minute zone 2 ride, and this is an upper zone 2. So it's where I'm starting to ride that little sort of it's riding that zone, that buffer zone between the zone 2, upper zone 2, and the lower zone 3. So not quite a tempo set, but I'm getting very close to what I predict I'll be running the Ironman at, the run section at in Cairns. So, and the times are starting to drop down to where I'm very, very close to what I want to be doing per kilometre pace. Saying that, I don't run for a specific distance, I run for a specific time. So after that was a 3,000 metre swim, so just threw the wetsuit on, jumped in the pool, and I've said this in a few videos, I'm doing 1 wetsuit swim a week, and I'm doing that in the pool here at Redcliffe, which is an indoor heated pool. So it's 28 degrees. It's going to be warmer than the water at Cairns, but it's just getting my body used to that heat, used to the resistance that the wetsuit causes on that arm as well, and just becoming comfortable in the water, and also just swimming for that duration. So this was a 3,000 metre swim, and that builds out each week until I'm around that 4,000 metre mark. So that evening I did a 2:30 to 10:30, so I got home pretty much about 11 p.m. again, and that closed my training week out. So that's week 10 to go. So if you made it this far in the video, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, just feel free to throw them down in the comments there. And until next week, guys, stay safe out there.